Hello everyone and welcome back to the Tinkering Corner. My name is Angel and in today's video we're gonna be continuing our home server series. In the previous episode of this series we booted and installed Ubuntu server in our machine. In this episode we will be installing Samba. Samba is a piece of software that turns our machine into a file server, which can allow us to access files stored in this machine from within our network. This is in fact a quite useful piece of software if we would like to have a centralized storage pool that different machines in our network can access. Personally, I use Samba to store about 90% of my files at all times in my server, which I can then access with my desktop, laptop, or Android phone. So let's get down to business. Before we do anything else, we have to make sure that our server is properly connected to the network via Ethernet and that it is also powered on. Next, to make the setup simpler and faster, we will not be using the machine physically, so no keyboards and mouse. We're gonna be connecting into it through the network. However, to do this, we need to know the IP address of our machine. In order to find the IP address of our machine, we can either use an IP scanner that scans all the IPs in our network, or we can also go to the machine itself and figure out what's the IP that it has. Personally, I tend to scan the network with an IP scanner such as Angry IP Scanner, but in this case it's faster to just go to the machine and look it up in the machine. So let's figure out what's the IP of our machine. In this case, I have here, for demonstration purposes, I have here an Ubuntu 16.04 machine. In your case, you're gonna have to log in with your username and password, and then you're gonna be dropped into a prompt like this one. So what you wanna do is type IP address, and then you're gonna get something like this. You're gonna have many different network devices. What you're looking for is for this one that says ENP or ESP if I'm not mistaken, and you're gonna go down here where it says INET and a bunch of numbers. This bunch of numbers here next to INET is gonna be your the IP address of your machine. In my case, it's gonna be 192.168.0.175. I have checked already my server, and for my server it's gonna be 192.168.0.105. So I'm gonna use that IP to be able to connect to my server. So let's clear our screen, and the way that we can connect to our machine is, if you're using Windows, you're gonna be using a program called Putty. I'm gonna link in the description so you can get the program. Or if you're using Mac or Linux, in this case I'm using a Linux machine, you can use the command SSH and then the username that we set up in the other episode. In my case it's gonna be Angel, and then and then your IP address, which is gonna be 192.168.0.105. It's gonna ask me for my password. In your case, it's gonna ask you to make sure that the information is correct and so on. But since I have logged in already, it's not gonna ask me for it. And now we are inside of our server. In the previous episode of this series, while we were doing the installation, we made sure that we install Samba during the installation. However, if you don't have it installed, you can always run the command sudo apt install Samba. Since we have it installed, we don't have to reinstall it again. So the next thing that we need to do is make a backup of the original configuration of Samba. In order to do that, we're gonna run the command sudo cp etc samba smbd.conf.bak and then samba passwd. So what this command is gonna do is run as a administrator and then copy the original Samba configuration and then just add back at the end. So it basically makes a copy and leaves it in the same place with a different name. I'm gonna have in the description below all the commands that we're gonna be using for this tutorial, including this one, and also I'm gonna include the commands that you need to use just in case something breaks in your configuration and you need to go back to default. I'm gonna include that also. So then we just run the command and then just We input our password and then it should be fine. Back to the prompt. The next step is gonna be making a folder where we're gonna put all the files that are gonna be in our share, basically that our share can access. In my case, what I'm gonna be doing is calling the folder share, but you can name it whatever you want. And if you change the name, you have to make sure that in some future steps you also change the name as well. So in my case, I'm gonna make a directory, and then that directory is gonna be placed in the home directory, and it's gonna be named share. Now, to check that it is there, we can do ls, and it's gonna be there. Next, what we need to do is change the permissions of this folder. So we're gonna execute the command sudo chmod 0777, and then in our home directory we're gonna have to change the permissions of share. And then if we do ls, it's gonna have a different color. Now we need to change the Samba configuration. In order to do that, we're gonna run the command sudo nano etc samba smb.conf, and then it's gonna bring us here, and we're gonna scroll all the way down. And here is where we're gonna add our configuration. In the description below, there's gonna be a sample configuration, and that sample configuration you can copy and paste it here. You're most likely gonna have to change some specifics, such as here the share name is gonna have the name of your share. You can always change it to whatever you want. In my case, I'm just gonna leave it as file server. The comment, you can always change the comment. The comment is basically a small description of what your share has inside. And then the path, in the path, what you need to change is basically this part that says current user, and you can change it to your user that you're gonna be using. In my case, because I named my user in the installation Angel, I'm gonna be using this one. And if you, in the previous steps, you made a folder that has a different name other than share, you can change it here, and then you can leave everything else the same way. So now we're gonna press Ctrl and X, we're gonna press Y, and then we're gonna press enter. So now that our Samba configuration is properly configured, what we need to do is create a Samba user. In my case, it's gonna be Angel. So what I'm gonna be running is the command sudo smbpasswd tag a, and then the username that you wanna use. In my case, it's gonna be Angel, and I'm gonna run that. Then it asks me for a password again, and that should be it. Now you need to run the command testparm. What that's gonna do is test all the parameters in our Samba configuration and make sure that there are no errors. Here it shows you some of the shares and so on, and it's giving us some warnings here, which is fine. And now we can press enter again. We get a dump, and that's it. So now what we need to do finally is run sudo systemctl restart smbd and nmbd. So what this is gonna do is restart the Samba service on systemd, and we should get no output for this command. So now that our Samba is configured properly and we have restarted the service, I'm gonna test out that our share is working properly. So I'll be right back. So I have here open my file manager, and what I'm gonna be doing is going to where it says network, and where it says network, it's here, and then I'm gonna click Windows Network. and then workgroup, and here we have the same name of our server, which is YouTube tutorial. And when we click inside, we have file server and print. File server, as you can see, is the name that we set before to in our configuration at the beginning of the configuration. And we can click in. It says to put the user. Here I'm gonna put my user, which is Angel, which is a user that I put for my share, and then I want to put the password that I put for my share, and then just click connect, and we should be connected. Now to test it out, I can make some folders. So I'm gonna make 1 folder, 2 folders, and 3 folders, and then I'm gonna go to my terminal here, and if I do ls, I can see my share. I can do cd share to go inside of the share folder, and then we can do ls, and we should see the same folder that we just created. So these folders were created right inside of our server. So that's basically it. Thank you guys for watching, and remember to keep following the series, because in the next episode we're gonna be installing Plex to manage all our media.